Warning! The Stone Age Gamer podcast includes a lot of bad language. Cover your motherfucking ears.
Good evening and welcome to the Stone Age Gamer podcast. I am Kris Randazzo and joining me tonight is unintelligible swear word, Dan Ryan.
Yeah, that's accurate. I feel like out of everything, that's probably the most accurate. Yeah.
It's time for the Alphabet Super Series. It was my pick for the letter Q, and we'll be discussing Q Bert for the PlayStation and Dreamcast. How did we enjoy jumping on cubes floating in trippy-ass voids? Watch out for snakes, because the Stone Age Gamer podcast starts now. I got to use watch out for snakes. Like, legitimately in conversation.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, it's great.
Hi, everyone. This is episode 539. It's the week of November 8th, 2024, and welcome. For anyone new here, this is the official podcast of StoneAgeGamer.com. Dan and I talk every week about what's happening in the world of video games from a retro gamer's perspective, as well as whatever the hell else is going on in our lives. And speaking of which, what's shaking there, Dan?
Oh, not much. I'm gonna apologize if this is a short episode this week. I don't know if it's going to be. You know, because we have a tendency to rattle on about nonsense, but there's no baseball to interrupt things tonight because
no, there is not,
because the Yankees are really, really fucking bad at playing fundamental like little league baseball. Apparently, God, that was very
the good news is that the Yankees did beat the team that they beat the Yankees.
They did. The Yankees beat the Yankees.
They sure did.
Oh boy, were you watching that like live?
I was not, and I'm kind of glad that I wasn't. I caught, I caught a reaction video of a bunch of people watching it, and when what's his face didn't cover first base, and they were like, "What?"
Yeah,
I'm watching this video, like, wait a minute, that's not what's going on here.
Yeah, I was so hard to start the day. So I was so erect, and then I've never gone from fucking midnight to 6 quicker. It's just couldn't. Cause like Aaron Judge misses the ball and it's like, okay, all right, it's fine, it's 5-0, it's fine. It's okay. Like,
yeah, I remember checking in on the score, being like, okay, well, I guess I don't really need to watch this, do I?
Yeah, no, like, Garrett Cole is cruising out there. The fucking Judge hits a home run. Chisholm hits a home run. Stanton hits a home run. You're like, all right, it's fucking all right. It's Friday night. I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to Kris about what we're going to do about recording, because there's definitely going to be a game on Friday. And then Aaron Judge misplays the ball, and it's like, okay, I mean, that happens. It shouldn't happen, but like it happens, whatever. And then Anthony Volpe makes the right play, trying to throw the ball to third, because that's the way his momentum was carrying him. It was but he rushes the throw. Oh, okay, all right. Bases loaded, nobody out. Fuck. Okay, but Garrett Cole's still on the mound, so that's cool. He'll just have to strike the next 3 guys out or get some ground balls or something, no problem. And then he strikes the next 2 guys out, and it's like, all right, little pop fly, little ground ball, we're out of this inning, no problem. And then they get a little ground ball, and it's hit to Anthony Rizzo at first base, and then he sits there, and Garrett Cole stops running, but the Dodgers didn't stop running. They were like, nah, all right, I guess we'll just take a run. And then it just fucking kept happening. It just wouldn't fucking stop. It was relentless. Just
like someone had money riding on the game.
Oh my God. Just I've been watching baseball for a very, very long time, and I have never seen, and I think statistically too, it proves out that I have never seen a worse defensive inning than whatever the fuck that was. Because holy fucking dog shit, that was bad. So anyway, all of that is to say that there will be no baseball interrupting this evening's festivities. But I feel...
Yes, Dan and I will not be trying to commentate sporting events anymore.
I mean, it's the world. Like, it's fine. But I feel, overall, like horse shit. I don't know what happened. I started the day feeling pretty good, and then at lunchtime I was like, oh no, okay, like apparently I'm gonna continue to feel shitty today. And then it just kept getting fucking worse and worse and worse throughout the day. So like I'm sitting here right now. What got really weird is I went to pick my kids up from school. And when we got home, my brain like just fucking shut off. I don't know what happened, but I was like feeling incredibly overwhelmed, and because I get lightheaded around this time every week after the chemo, like a week out from the treatment, for like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever, I get lightheaded pretty easily, and the doctor was like, yeah, it's normal, it happens. It's like, okay, that's fine. But like when I get lightheaded, it like I get a ringing in my ears too, and my ears get fucking cold at the same. Like it's really shitty. So like, went and picked the kids up from school, got home, walked in the house, sat down, and like was super lightheaded. And the kids are trying to info dump to me, and I was just like, everybody, shut the fuck up! Like the dogs are barking. It's like I'm either having a panic attack or like I don't know what the fuck is happening. Everybody, shut up! Going upstairs to lay down, and I just went up and like laid in my bed in the dark for like 2 hours. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Super weird. Super fucking weird. Not a fan.
I really wanted to lay in my room in the dark for 2 hours today. I've been sleeping like garbage this week.
Yeah, I haven't slept well this week either, because I've been up late watching baseball or whatever, and
right.
Which is fine. Like, it's not a big deal, but I just, like, I just don't sleep through the night anymore. That's just not a thing that happens. It doesn't matter if I take an edible. It doesn't matter if I take, like, melatonin or whatever. Like, I just, physically, the pain wakes me up throughout the night. Like, it's not going to happen. So, I'm fucking tired, and then all this shit today, too. I'm like, oh, man. Have
you tried not having cancer?
Yes, actually, that's, I believe, what the chemo is for, is to not have the cancer. Well, and that's the fucking crazy thing about it, the shitty thing about it. Shitty is maybe the wrong word, but whatever. Is that last week was infusion number 6 of 12. After infusion 8, I will get another scan. And if that scan comes back totally clean, which is a distinct possibility with the way things were trending with the last one, if that scan comes back totally clean, no cancer whatsoever, I still have to do the other 4 treatments. Yeah.
You get nothing. Good day, sir.
It just doesn't matter because there could be something undetectable by the scan. And you don't want to let that sit there and fester, and now we're just starting over at jump again. So it's like, all right, they know what they're doing. It's working. But it's fucking hard, man. not as easy as perhaps I thought it was going to be. Because I thought, like, all right, things are progressing. They're getting better, so the chemo's not going to hit me as hard as it was. But no, they weren't lying when they said this shit is cumulative. So, that's where I'm at.
Let's see. It's been a stressful week. Just getting ready for Halloween and all that. All that business. Halloween was nice. It was fun. I wasn't allowed to have a fire because of the drought. So I just kind of sat out front, and the full-size candy bars went quick this year. We definitely saw a lot more people this year than I had in previous years. I might need to, depending on funds, I might need to spring for 2 boxes of full-sizers next year, because they went quick. But people were happy. They take pictures in front of our giant inflatables and
that's awesome
and whatnot. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I sat outside and I played the Castlevania Vampire Survivors DLC on Switch while I was, waiting in between trick-or-treaters. That was what a thing to come out on Halloween. Like,
yeah, I really wanted to get it, but have not picked it up yet. I just don't. I can't right now. Like, I want to put like a full focus into it because I'm so fucking excited about it, And I don't want to just like turn it on and be like, yeah, it's cool. Okay, I'm gonna go lay back down with the heating pad again.
Yeah, it's they said it was a very large stage and they were not fucking around. This is the first stage I think I've played that even with the Mad Groove Arcana, you can't do everything in one shot unless you turn off the time limit.
Wow.
Like, you just can't. It's too big. In fact, it's so big, and I can't assert that this is actually how it works, but Mad Groove won't grab everything on the stage. Like, I think the stage is big enough that it goes outside of its reach.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
This stage is fucking enormous, and there's bosses everywhere. Like, not just like the regular boss kind of things that show up. Yeah. Those are also everywhere. But there are like specific bosses all over the stage that are bosses from Castlevania. So you look on the map and there are these red skulls, and when you go there's a little symbol on the ground, and when you walk over it, a boss character spawns, like some sort of big Castlevania monster, and then you got to fight that in addition to whatever the hell else you're battling.
That's awesome.
Music's fucking incredible. I've only done 2 runs so far. I did 1 run through Halloween because that's about all I had time for because people kept showing up. And then later that night, before going to bed, I was like, all right, I just want to jump in here real quick and do like a small run because I unlocked my first Belmont.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I want to give this a shot just to see what it's like. Naturally, I played the full half hour because of course I did. And then I got to bed late because I'm a goober. So good times. But yeah, Castlevania was wonderful, and it's just a lot of things were happening in work this week, and I'm trying to get ahead on the sales for November,
right.
And the first one went really smoothly, and now like there's things I need for the next batch, and like we're just not quite there, and I'm like, I really 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 wanted to have these things done by the end of October,
right? And
I only have 1 done, so let's see if we can push to get everything done by the end of this week at least, so that I'm not working on the next one while a sale is currently running.
Right, right.
But other than that, there was a product launch I'll talk about when we're talking about what's new at Stone Age Gamer. And just, lack of sleep and preparing for things. I was one of the room parents for Ellie's Halloween party at school.
Oh, that's exciting.
It was pretty exciting. I was pretty jazzed about doing it. I signed up for the PTO, and they kind of immediately put me on 2 of the 3 parties they had for the rest of the year. The first one being the Halloween party. And as soon as they sent out the email, this one mom jumped in and said, if nobody minds, I'll kind of take point on this so we can get organized and go forward. And I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. I am here, and I volunteer to make a treat. Like, she said, here's what we need. Who wants to volunteer to do what? And I immediately said, I'm going to bake something. I'm going to bake something for this, and I will handle the treat department. And then nobody said anything for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I emailed back and was like, all right, so I'm still doing this. Where are we at with all this? And then the woman who said that she was going to take charge of things, she sent out an email to everybody. And then another lady was just like, oh, I can bring cupcakes. I was like, I covered that.
I'm baking.
I'm baking stuff. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And I had a whole plan with Ellie of the thing that we were going to bake. And I also responded immediately, and you guys have all been quiet. So how about y'all bring plates? So what wound up happening was, she said that I could still bake the thing that I was going to bake, and that, she'll bring cupcakes, and they got it all figured out. But like, this lady brought her cupcakes, and I brought my baked goods. Now let me tell you about my baked goods.
All right.
Because they were fucking amazing. I got those little Pillsbury cookies, you know, the ones that have like a pumpkin on the middle of them.
Yeah.
I get those. I put them on the bottom of a muffin cup, you know, one of those little muffin paper things.
Yeah.
And then I take a Halloween Oreo. I put that on top of that. And then I fill the rest of the cup with brownie batter.
Oh, shit. All right.
Throw some sprinkles on top of that, little Halloween colored shaped sprinkles. And you've got yourself a turducken of delicious sugary goodness. And they were so fucking tasty. So we get there, and I one of the first things that we hand out is like, we're handing out some napkins, and I was like, should we hand out the sugar first? It's like, yeah, let's get them sugared up and then play games with them.
Yeah.
So I hand out my cupcakes, and the kids go fucking crazy over them. Kids are begging me for a second one, like they're absolutely going crazy with them. And I was just like, oh, there's other cupcakes over there we're gonna do later. Like, I don't want one of those. I want another one of these. I felt like a goddamn superhero.
It's the best.
A champ.
That's right.
Oh, I loved it.
You should.
Kids
man.
were begging me for more of these things, and nobody liked that lady's cupcakes because it was it's like you go to ShopRite and you get like the big It's like a big slathered, it looks like a cake, but it's made out of cupcakes. So you got like an inch of frosting with like some picture on it or something. None of the kids cared. They just wanted more of my cupcakes, and I was super proud about that. And then nobody took charge of anything. So I just took over. I was like, all right, do. We're gonna play a game now then. And I got everybody's attention, played with the kids, and one of the moms was looking at. We brought rolls of toilet paper in so that we could do the mummy thing where we would split into teams, and whoever made the best mummy wins. And she was looking at it like, I don't know. I think it might be a little chaotic. I think we should skip this one. I was like, hey, kids, who wants chaos? And all the kids were like, chaos! Like, yeah, let's do this thing. So I just fucking took charge, and we all played games and had an absolute blast. And it was exhausting, and oh my God, the air conditioning was broken. Now, you'd think that wouldn't be a problem on Halloween. Except it was 80 goddamn 31st. Degrees. Yeah. It was 80 degrees. So this room filled with sweaty children and sweaty me it smelled horrible in there. And everyone it's way too hot, but it didn't matter. The kids were having a blast. I had a blast. It was a really, really good time. I'm glad I did it. And I'm looking forward to the next party.
You're a good dad, dude. You really are. And
I try.
And that's the thing I think maybe that has gotten lost over the last, however many years or whatever. Like when you think back to when you were in school, like that's the shit you remember. You know what I mean? There might be a lesson or two or a teacher that sticks out. Like Mr. Heidi Mark was my guy. He was a social studies teacher. I fucking love that guy. He was just great. I remember lessons that he taught, the whole fucking thing. But for the most part, the shit you remember about school are the fucking parties when you did the cool thing or the parade or the assembly or whatever. Like those moments are so fucking important. And we've gotten so bogged down with like testing and just, rote instruction and these fucking super high intense and like, not saying that stuff's not important, certainly, but like kids should be allowed to be kids, have some fun,
They should be. I am so thrilled that my daughter, Ellie's teacher, doesn't believe in homework.
Yeah.
And over the moon. I absolutely love this woman. Her name is Miss Smiley, and she is great. She really appreciated us running the party and having a blast in there. But like when we did back to school night, she talked about how she doesn't believe in homework and she doesn't assign it. She thinks it's important. The kids, they get all the lesson, they get all the instruction they need at school.
Yep.
And when they go home,
they should be
kids. They should be able to go home. They should go be kids. And God, I wish John's teachers felt that way, because
I know.
Oh man, he had such a rough week, and he's talking about, he's got this one teacher that I can't say for sure because we've never actually talked to him about it.
Right.
But he doesn't like John very much.
Sure.
John has, he's got some issues. He says 504s or whatever the number is.
Sure.
And his teacher doesn't really care for that stuff. He strikes me as the kind of old white dude who thinks he thinks that stuff's got all in your head. You
right.
know, he doesn't really buy into that nonsense.
Right.
And I'm like, well, this is the way my kid works. So, you know, when John,
I'm not selling it. Yeah. You can buy it or not. I'm not selling. Like it is what it is.
It's not for sale. This is just the way it is. So yeah, he had some he had some sort of like book assignment thing. He had to make this little paper book, and he lost it somehow during the school day. So his teacher told him he had to make a new one at home. And now John didn't remember this until it was like a half an hour before his bedtime.
Naturally,
and he just
because he's a kid.
Because he's a kid. He lost it. He lost his mind. He couldn't. His teacher was supposed to send him instructions on how to do it because, you know, it was this whole like paper folding thing.
Yeah.
He had a very specific instructions on the way it was supposed to look, but his teacher didn't send the instructions. And John was like, he was so upset because he didn't know what was going to happen, because he didn't know how he was going to make this, because he couldn't remember the specific instructions. And I was like, well, look, he sent you a picture of it. We're just going to figure it out to the best of our ability. He's like, no, it's not going to be good enough. It's got to be the way that he told us to do it. And I'm like, well, he didn't send you instructions, and it's due. So we're just going to do the best we can. And if he doesn't think that's good enough, that's on him for not giving you the instructions.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what else to tell you. So we start doing this thing. I start like taking the lead and kind of figuring out like, all right, what's the first step? How are we going to do this? And as soon as I did the first step, John was like, I remember everything. He remembered every single, he swore to me he could remember absolutely nothing about how to build this thing. Not a single step, not a detail, not anything. He remembered nothing. And I was like, I am sure that is not the case.
Right.
And then as soon as I did the first step, he's like, that's not right. This is how we're supposed to do it. And then he remembered the whole thing. But the thing that the first step was driving me so freaking crazy, because I was like, I don't understand why we're doing this way.
Right.
Like, what are we trying to get to? He's like, well, first off, the paper needs to be folded like this, and then these holes need to match up exactly like this. I'm like, okay, what is the end game, though? What are we trying to do? And he wouldn't tell me. He's like, no, we have to do this. And then what you do is you take all the papers out, and then you fold it in half, and you fold it real tight, and then you run it through your lips, and then you can tear it apart. I'm like, so we're spitting on our homework. It's like, that's how the teacher said to do it. I'm like, that is some old white guy shit if I ever heard it in my life. Like, yeah, it technically works, but you're spitting all over your homework. Now you've got your drool all over this paper. I have a paper cutter. If we needed to cut paper in half, I could have done it in seconds. And we've now spent 15 minutes folding and licking paper.
In my room. I'll go get it. You just
and we shoot him in the head.
You just don't get it, do you, Scott?
It was some serious Dr. Evil shit right there. I was almost at my supervillain moment. I could not believe, like, so I'm going to do it this way, right? I just was like, you don't actually need to lick it, right? If you do it back and forth a few more times, it still comes apart without making the paper wet with your fucking spit, which is a neat trick, I guess, but like, what are we doing here?
But also, ew.
Yeah, also, ew.
Gross.
Your teacher really wants to carry this around in post-COVID world?
Right?
All right, sure. Whatever. He can have your spit all over your homework. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and not put your homework in my mouth.
That you've been touching. Because I don't know where your hands have been, but you are, in fact, a child, and children are disgusting.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, homework is stupid.
Said,
nobody should
should
have it.
I hate it.
It's dumb. It's dumb, and it breeds a culture of bringing your work life home with you as well.
Yes. Because John, he just wants to come home and be a kid. He wants to build Legos and goof around and be lost in his own world.
Yeah.
And he's got, like, sometimes he has, like, his entire after school is just taken up by long division. He'll just be sitting there doing long division for, like, hours. And it's, come on.
Yeah.
This is awful. This poor kid.
Yeah. It's not cool.
And I thought when I was a kid, well, maybe it's just because I'm a kid that I hate homework, right? Of course I hate homework. They're telling me to do it, and I don't want to do it because I'm the kid. But now I'm a grown-up, and I hate it just as much. I hate it exactly as much as I hated when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Fucking stupid. Yeah. It stinks, and I hate it.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Anyways. Did you play any other games this week, or you been not really up to it.
Not really up to it, man. Like my hand is still kind of fucked up from the neuropathy. Like that's going to take a little bit to like wear back off now. So I can't really like hold anything for too long. Like I played, a little bit of Snap. I started a little bit of the Pokemon Pocket, just trying to see how that is. And I'll be able to talk more about it next week. You know what I mean? I think I'd be able to put a little bit more time into it. But so far, it's good. I'm sure it's going to make just a fucking stupid amount of money.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, like it's simple. It's a simplified version of Pokemon, which is great. It's accessible. It's easy to get into. They do a decent job. Like, I basically got through the tutorial shit, and was like, okay, that's about all I have time for. That's really about it, man. I really haven't done much this week other than just get incredibly depressed about baseball.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, my team was already out, so I didn't really have much of a dog in the fight. But I understood. I understand when your team goes out like that.
Yeah, it just.
I mean, at least you didn't lose to the Mets.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Oh boy. Well, let's see. I played some more Zelda. I fought this game's Volvagia, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting there. I think I'm coming close to the end game. If I had to venture a guess, it still remains very good.
Mm-hmm.
I got my copy of Prince of Persia in the mail. I obviously haven't played it yet, but that showed up.
Nice.
And with it, I also got a Samus ornament.
Ooh.
That was the last year's Hallmark had a Hallmark Samus ornament. They had them on like super sale at Amazon, and I was like, okay, I'll get a Samus ornament for $12.
Why not?
And it showed up, and it's much better looking in person than I had seen. I saw pictures of it online. It just looked like a really shitty bright orange paint job, but it doesn't look like that in person. It actually looks really nice. So I'm pretty happy about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I also played, like I said, I played the Vampire Survivors. We talked about that a little bit, but one of the cooler things that I played, I think I can actually save that for a little bit later. I'll hold off on that because that's going to be one of our news stories.
Ooh,
so
okay.
I don't think I have anything else I need to talk about right now. Like I feel like I'm forgetting something else that happened in my week. Like I put away all the Halloween decorations today. I was just exhausted all week, and I didn't get very far in my my Mario script. I'm struggling on this Mario script. I'm trying to connect the dots with I just finished writing about Super Mario Deluxe, and now I'm trying to connect the dots on how to get from Super Mario Brothers Deluxe to Super Mario Advance. And that's the Space World 2000 right there in the middle.
Yeah.
And I wrote all this stuff about the Game Boy Advance's development and whatnot. I was like, I don't need any of this. I'm telling a Mario story. I need historical context. I don't need all of the historical context. So I wrote a bunch of shit, and I was like, I'm deleting all this. I don't need it. It's gonna bog down the video.
Yeah.
Stop doing this. And but I also fell down this hole of recently on YouTube, within the last a couple of years, people have posted some extremely high resolution, really high quality footage from Space World 2000.
Oh, that's cool.
That Zelda fighting Ganon with the sword fight thing. Extremely just direct feed, gorgeous looking footage of that. And it's been really fun, kind of falling down that hole. But as far as I can tell at Space World, right, because I think what I have to go to think. Here's the thing. So I need to get from Super Mario Brothers Deluxe on Game Boy Color to Mario Advance on Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
But then this GameCube stuff happens in between, right? So it's Space World 2000, here's the Game Boy Advance, but here's the GameCube. The Game Boy Advance stuff was super cool, but the GameCube was the thing, right? That Zelda battle, seeing Metroid Prime theoretically for the very first time, Samus running, that was the shit. So I have to touch on that, but also touch on the Game Boy Advance part of it, without making the Game Boy Advance part seem too small. But also, as far as I can tell, at Space World, right? They had that whole reel of the GameCube games,
right,
including Luigi's Mansion, which is what I need to get to.
Right.
But the only footage I can find from Space World of Game Boy Advance games is Mario Kart and F-Zero, and that strikes me as wrong. So
man, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, they could have just that could have just been it. Like I found footage
certainly.
of like a meeting room where they were showing it off, and they were showing like, here's the Game Boy Advance, here's how it plugs into the GameCube. We haven't figured out what we're doing with that yet, but it's a thing that can happen.
But somebody will figure it out.
And they showed them playing Mario Kart. They showed them showing F-Zero, and that was it. And then at the actual presentation, because somebody has the full, like, here's their presentation. And it's like, here's this cool Game Boy Advance thing where there's a little bit of footage of Mario Kart, but it's all about the system and its buttons and its shape. And then it was just, here's the GameCube thing. And like, holy shit.
Right.
So, I don't know. It is proving challenging for me to write that in an entertaining way. I'm struggling so hard to find the damn through line, partly because I'm so exhausted, but partly because it's just kind of a weird history a weird spot in history for me to focus on, because my focus on that, like Super Mario 128 was like the least interesting thing to me. Metroid and Zelda was like, that's the shit. And man, when I did that part in my Zelda history, that was so much fun. I loved doing it. That was so exciting. I captured that excitement, but there wasn't really any excitement for Mario there. Like,
no, it was just kind
Mario
of like
Advance,
a thing, and then like it's coming eventually. Like, shut up, we'll get to it.
Yeah, like it wasn't even a game. It's like, here's a tech. Like the only Mario they showed was that tech demo that was Mario 128.
Yeah,
and I can't see any footage of Mario Advance there at all. Which is weird. Like this whole presentation, the Luigi's Mansion was there was Pokemon, Luigi's Mansion, Zelda, and then like Joanna Dark, some race cars. Like it was really interesting stuff. That Rebirth thing that never turned into a game, utterly fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
But, like that little like weird T-shaped tree thing, it was super weird looking, but never turned into anything. So. It's very interesting. So I keep falling into these weird holes and then not writing anything, but...
That's what she said.
Oh my god, I'm so thirsty. That's what she said. All right, well, in that case, we're going to take ourselves a quick break. And actually, so here's the deal. We had an email that I was going to get to, but I think we're going to hold off on it in the interest of keeping this episode a bit tighter.
Okay.
And Devin Cooley is who sent the email, and he's not going to know because... He is the guy who started listening to the podcast from episode 1 back in July.
Oh, yeah.
And messaged us about. So we're going to do, in the not too distant future, a actual mailbag episode. So I think, because I don't think Devin's going to catch up by then. I forget what episode he told us he was on, but he's still got a ways to go.
Sure.
So I think we're going to include Devin's email in our mailbag at a future episode. And do it that way. So with that, we'll be back in a little bit. You're listening to the Stone Age Gamer podcast from Geekade.com. Stick around. And now here's a quick look at what's new from us and our partners at Geekade.com.
First up, it's no longer Halloween. The ween has been hollowed. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't still listen to spooky music. Matt and Kris, and by that I mean Matt, has put together his second annual Halloween mixtape featuring spine-tingling tunes that are sure to get you into the holiday spirit. No, not that holiday, asshole. The one that just passed. Don't miss Turning Tracks episode 24, Halloween Mixtape Volume 2.
Next, it's no longer Halloween, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't still listen to spooky music. Matt and Kris, and by that I mean me, has put together the show's 10th annual Halloween Spooky Special, featuring spine-tingling tunes that are sure to get you into the holiday spirit. No, not that holiday, the one that just passed. Don't miss Waveback episode 179, Spooky Special 10.
It's right in front of me and I didn't even fucking read it. I just looked at the first one. Finally, it's no longer Halloween. The ween has been hollowed. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't still listen to spooky podcasts. Andy and Ryan, and by that I mean Andy and Ryan, have put together their 189th episode of their podcast, probably not featuring spine-tingling tunes that are sure to get you into the holiday spirit. No, not that holiday spirit, the one that just passed. Don't miss Weekend Rental episode 189, The Gamers Join the Force.
I'm so sad I can only use that trick once. For all this and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on geekade.com.
That's super funny.
All right, everybody, we are back.
Go back to talking like a fucking
here.
1940s guy. See? Have you seen, just as an aside, have you seen Shane Gillis do his bit about Jackie Robinson?
No, I don't even know who that is.
Shane Gillis he's a pretty funny stand-up comedian. He does a really good Trump impersonation. He's really fucking funny. He's got this one bit where he's talking about how white people used to be cool, and the moment that they stopped being cool was Jackie Robinson coming into the major leagues. And he's like, go back and listen to it. You can hear it. They're on the radio. They're like, man, see? Well, here comes that colored boy for Brooklyn. No way he can hit old Curly's fastball. We'll see what fuck, home run. Okay, never mind. Shit, we're done. And nobody ever talked like that again. From that moment on, they went, man, see, fuck. Okay, fuck. That's gone. Shit. All right. It's really fucking fun. Shane Gillis, very, very funny. Anyway. He does it better than I do because he wrote it, and I'm not a comedian.
Well, let's see here. We have, we'll talk about what's new at Stone Age Gamer this week, and what's new is Vengeance Hunters. Vengeance Hunters is a new Neo Geo game from Nalua Studio, and it is I don't know, homebrew is really the word. It's not like one dude in a garage.
Right.
It was made by a team, but it's a new Neo Geo game.
It's a little bit more than a homebrew, but not quite an indie.
No, I think indie's actually the right word.
Is it?
I think
okay.
Indie is the right word. Yeah. Because it's a new beat 'em up, and it looks
awesome
on a Neo Geo. It does. It's on a Neo Geo cartridge, which we are selling pre-orders for at Stone Age Gamer. We're handling some North American distribution for that. But it's also on all the other systems like PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, and Nintendo Switch, and Steam. And we've been kind of working on getting that listing up, which was part of the stress of my day yesterday because it went up incorrectly a couple of different ways that we had to go back and fix. But we're taking pre-orders on the regular and the limited edition. And it's pretty neat. It's a thing that we're involved in, and I've been reaching out to people to offer review codes. I'm not going to review it myself because it seems like a conflict of interest.
Sure.
Since I work for the company that's distributing it, I probably shouldn't be reviewing it. So hopefully somebody on our staff at Nintendo Force will do a review for it or something like that. We'll see. But yeah, Vengeance Hunters, that's been prepping for that and continuing to work on the sales. It's been my week. So that's what's
awesome.
new at Stone Age Gamer.
Yeah, it looks really, really great. I'm really excited about this one.
And well, you should be, because beat 'em ups are awesome.
They are.
There's a lot of them out right now. But anyway, it's time for my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everyone's favorite segment. It is time to strap yourselves in for week old news. Welcome to Week Old News, where we talk about all the news that was new a week ago. And first up, I have to say, I'm a dumbass, and I figured out how to make Week Old News not be me rooting through an entire week's of news in a day before writing the script for the podcast. I just bookmark the news stories I see throughout the week, and then I choose from those bookmarks.
There you go. I like that.
It's right. It's about the dumbest thing for me to not have thought of months ago.
Sure.
Better late than never, I suppose. Anyway, IGN reports
Better Nate
Apple
than
making Oregon Trail movie that will be an action comedy with Barbie-style musical numbers.
I mean, that actually sounds like a really great fucking idea to me.
The subtitle of this article is "Get in, loser. We're going to die of dysentery."
Yeah, like, see, I'm in. Sold.
Yeah.
Can it have The Rock and Kevin Hart in it, please?
Please no.
No, come on. How dare you?
I don't find Kevin Hart nearly as amusing as you do.
Oh my god, I fucking love Kevin Hart so much. I don't know why. I really do.
I'm fascinated by this story. I hope it's good, right? Because when you say it's Barbie style with musical numbers, like when you say that, it could be like this thing was successful, what else can we apply this exact formula to? Whereas, like, we got, like, well, Guardians of the Galaxy was really successful, so now we're going to make a bunch of stuff where people talk like Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, we've never seen Guardians of the Galaxy. We just think we know what they sound like.
Right.
And we don't have the same talent involved, so it's going to just sound horrible. I'm hoping that this actually winds up being something really cool because, well, it could be. There's
so much potential there.
Promise here, yes. Yeah. There's a lot of promise in this. I love the idea.
I think, I honestly think, because they just announced that they're going into production soon on Jumanji 3. So Jumanji with The Rock and Kevin Hart and Karen Gillan and Jack Black. I think they should make both movies at the same time. Like, that entire cast should do Jumanji 3 and the fucking Oregon Trail musical just at the same time. I'm super into this idea.
Here's an idea that I'm not super into. Time Extension reports, quote, "The project is a complete scam. The internet isn't convinced by the Super Sega FPGA console." Have you heard of this thing?
I have not. I have not really been on the internet this week either. So all of this is also news to me.
Right. So this actually has been around for... This was announced a little while ago.
Okay.
It is the Super Sega system, which is an FPGA system, like an all-in-one system that plays all of your Master System... I want to say Master System, Genesis, Game Gear, Saturn, and Dreamcast. Basically everything... Sega CD. Everything except 32X.
That's cool.
In a single system, which seems like a great idea.
Sure.
It's not... it's not sponsored by Sega. Like, Sega's not involved.
Of course.
They're calling it the Super Sega system. They are selling something with the word Sega in it, just flagrantly standing directly in the face of copyright law, being like, fuck you. So people seem to think this is some sort of scam. It's vaporware. Is it ever going to actually happen? Like, let's see. Perhaps the most withering takedown of the entire project comes from Kevtris, the developer behind Analog's FPGA consoles. Posting on the Atari Age forums, he pulls the project apart quite ruthlessly. That PCB is not running any games and cannot run a single game. It is missing everything. There's no power supplies to run the FPGA. There's no RAM. They do show a DDR3 or DDR4 RAM module plugged in, but it's not connected to the FPGA and is simply too far away from it to actually function if it was even hooked up. That speed of light. There is no HDMI drivers of any kind, just everything is missing that is required to make it work. If you give these dorks money, you most likely are not going to see it again, and you won't be getting an FPGA system that works unless they totally redesign it. It's like they showed off this board.
Right.
And look, I know almost nothing about boards, right? That's not my expertise.
We know fuck all. Between the two of us, we know nothing.
Probably adds up to approximately fuck all.
Yeah.
However, even I can look at this thing and say something is wrong, and I'll just explain it to you. The board is almost all solid green.
Nope. I know enough to know that in the repair videos I've watched,
lots
in the
of little lines and dots and doodads all over, right?
Lots of whirligigs and twisty-doos and little nubbins.
I don't know what they do. I don't know what those things do, but I know they the little silver nubbins all over the place, and they're connected with lines that are slightly darker green.
Yeah, like little Hershey kisses that are just delicately on the board. Little like gold holes, bunch of places. You know?
Yeah, there's just darker, like a whole lot of solid green.
Doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is very solid green that we are talking right now. This is very good information.
We are professionals and we know what we're talking about. I'm just saying, even as somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about, this does not look okay.
Right.
Like, this just looks like somebody glued a bunch of shit to something else. And I'm looking at the pure and like, I cannot believe what I'm looking at right here. So yeah, this is a weird thing that's happening in the retro gaming space right here. I cannot imagine it's a good idea to like actually use the word Sega in your
It doesn't
product,
seem to be a good idea.
Our Sega Genesis flash cart, the Mega SD.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't... It says Mega. This is for the Mega Drive, right? The EverDrive, the Mega EverDrive. They don't. Sega's copyrighted. You can't just sell products that say Sega on them if you're not
Sega.
Sega.
Company that puts out things. That. Yeah.
I feel like somebody at some point is going to say, "You should know. Give us money or stop doing this."
One of the two. How about both? Give us money and stop doing this, you assholes.
Yeah, there you go. Both at the same time. Let's moving on. This story makes me pretty mad. Time Extension reports the U.S. Copyright Office doesn't want to give you access to video game history.
That's weird.
This was a really sad story. So the Video Game History Foundation has been trying to basically fight for the right to have a video game library, like to have games be treated like movies and music and books,
right,
in libraries. And that's the U.S. Copyright Office. Let's see, the quote from their Twitter post says, "Today, the U.S. Copyright Office announced that it would not support the needs of libraries and archives to increase access to video game history, leaving over 87% of classic games legally inaccessible through any practical means. While we are disappointed, the fight is not over. See our full statement here." Basically, what this all came down to, I'm trying to find like the right way of saying this. Once again, it falls to emulation and illegal ROM sites to preserve video game history. The industry itself clearly isn't interested. Quote, "The game industry's absolutist position forces researchers to explore extra-legal methods to access the vast majority of out-of-print video games that are otherwise unavailable." And I think their decision all came down to, like, no. Like, there wasn't, like, a whole lot of reasoning behind it. They were just like, nah, no. People could play games for fun. Like that, no. But people can like doing research for books. You could also grab a book for fun while you're doing that. Like, it's okay if people enjoy these things,
right?
Especially the stuff that's not in print, right?
It's weird.
At a certain point, this is artistic medium. This is history,
right? This
is the
at
same
a certain point
thing.
It is now.
Exactly.
Now is that point.
It's just like movies and just like music, just like any other artistic output. Video games are like that. Yes, a lot of them are junk. A lot of movies are junk. A lot of TV shows are junk.
That doesn't really mean bad that they movies.
Don't. Yeah, there's a lot of really bad video games too, but it's.
What I was going to say is we've talked about this before. I think the last time it came up, because there are a couple like lobbying groups that go out there and they're like, no, this is a terrible idea. Don't ever do it. And like, they go to fucking like they go and lobby against this shit, and it's just a really weird place. And it's why shmemulation exists and will continue to exist. Because there are thousands and thousands, if not millions of people who have all the video games fucking archived. They've got them.
Yeah, they're out there. But wouldn't it be great if they didn't need to do it through some sort of weird illegal means? Like, the potential that a company could theoretically lose money because if somebody might not buy this old game on their old service if they can get it out of the library for free. And we can't have that. But we would have that with movies and books forever.
In 2024.
Like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
Like, you can go rent movies from your local library for free.
Yeah.
You've been able to do it for ages. And it's not like the movie industry has stopped because
CDs
of that.
And DVDs and records.
Exactly. You can get all kinds of stuff from libraries.
Libraries are great. Yeah.
And video games should be a part of that.
They should be.
And the fact that they're not allowed to...
It's weird.
It's weird to me. It's all obscene.
I don't think it'll be that way forever. I actually don't think it'll be that way for too much longer, honestly. But it is very, very strange.
It is very, very strange. Moving on. Go Nintendo reports fan remakes Super Mario Bros. For Game Boy Color in the style of Super Mario Land. So this is called Super Mario Bros. Mini. Have you seen this?
I saw a little bit of it. It looks really cool.
It's pretty wild. So Super Mario Bros. Deluxe was on Game Boy Color.
Right.
But it had the issue of it being the NES game, and like you had to zoom in the camera. So this person basically took the dimensions of Mario Land and made shrunk everything down. So the sprites are even less detailed than they were in the original game. But it's spatially, proportionally, it is Super Mario Brothers. But it plays more like Super Mario Land. This is the other game that I played. I downloaded it on my Game Boy Color. On my EverDrive, and I was playing around with it for a while. And it's really hard to play because the physics are like Super Mario Land. So I'm trying to get through this game.
I think it's one of those things you don't realize is different until you try to play a game
so
you know.
Different.
Yeah.
I died so many times on the most basic shit because, I have this muscle memory for Super Mario Brothers, and this is just, the physics are completely different. So it kind of threw me for a loop. But there's a lot more to it than it just being Super Mario Brothers. They added a whole, basically second quest to it with all these bosses from Super Mario Land and all new stages. You can ride Yoshi like in Super Mario World, except Yoshi's got a double jump. So yeah, it's got a whole second quest mode basically, and the bosses are pretty neat. They did a pretty creative job of trying to make the bosses work within context of Super Mario Brothers. You fight Tatonga, you fight Wario.
That's awesome.
You fight a Giga Bowser at the end.
Nice. That sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely well worth checking out. I think it is a more fascinating project than a fun one, to be perfectly honest, because Super Mario Brothers exists not on Game Boy Color. Super Mario Brothers exists on Game Boy Color.
Right.
I still think Super Mario Brothers Deluxe is the better game, but that was made by Nintendo as a fan project. This is really freaking cool. Yeah, this is really, really freaking cool. It's a really neat idea. And I definitely recommend seeking it out. It's well worth your time. It just really pissed me off. The physics pissed me off so bad because I know Super Mario Brothers so well. But yeah, this is good stuff.
That's rad.
Well done, Internet. You remain undefeated. Now, speaking of, I forget what we were just about things potentially changing.
Yeah.
Polygon reports Tim Walls finally flexed his Crazy Taxi skills over the weekend. So Tim Walls and AOC did the lengths that candidates are going through to appeal to
youngins.
Gen Z, the youngins, are out of control, and they Tim Walls and AOC jumped on Twitch and were streaming Madden, and then he started playing Crazy Taxi.
It's fucking awesome.
It was really funny.
That's great.
Yeah, that was great. And I mentioned this because I think this is the first time we've had an actual vice presidential candidate playing Dreamcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Just on stream, he wasn't great at it, but he's played it before. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
So that was pretty wild.
AOC did the Among Us stuff a couple years ago.
Yeah.
She was jumping on there, but she's young and hip and
exactly. She's younger than he is
for sure.
But this was also there was a similar thing. Was it I want to say the Biden campaign did for the last election? They did an Animal Crossing village, and this time the Harris campaign did a Fortnite stage.
Yeah, they've got a Fortnite thing. It's just one of those weird things of and this isn't even I mean, fuck it, whatever, don't vote for Trump, but could you even imagine Trump or Vance just being a normal person that plays a video game?
You didn't even need the rest of that sentence.
Sure. But that's the fucking wildest thing about the fucking gremlins that are in that party currently of I can't even imagine you doing anything normal. Just a normal, you're sitting on the couch watching TV and you scratch your balls. Even that seems far-fetched. It's fucking weird, man. Anyway. Yeah. Tim Walls is great. Love that guy.
Yeah. Time Extension reports. Speaking of weird. See if I can get through this with a straight face. After the epic failure of the Intellivision Amico, Tommy Tallarico's new goal is becoming a backgammon legend.
I saw that. That was posted I think that was shared in our Discord, and I managed to read through that article. Yeah, I'm sorry your dad died, but you're still a fucking twat.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, on one hand, good for you. You found something that you can do
awesome.
with your life that isn't taking advantage of people.
Yeah, it's great.
And good for you for getting good enough at backgammon to be able to compete in a tournament. You still did all those things.
Yeah, you're still a fucking scumbag who stole a bunch of money from a bunch of people. And that's not fucking
lied
cool.
For years about your involvement in various projects.
Yeah.
Made yourself seem like a much bigger deal than you ever were. You're still a scumbag.
The smartest
good
line
for you, I guess,
that has ever been said on television was uttered by, I don't even know what character, on fucking Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Stuff can be two things.
Yeah, stuff can be two things.
Stuff can be two things. Like, that sucks, dude. Like, I'm sorry your dad died, and I'm happy for you, but also fuck you. You're a dick and you should apologize. At the very least, you should apologize.
Yeah, but he's not gonna. He's now moved on to this.
Yeah.
And Television Amico continues to not exist. Time Extension reports Castlevania is getting a musical. What?
Yeah.
Castlevania will get literally anything before it gets a new game.
Before it gets a new fucking game. I know.
Castlevania Awakening of the Moon will be performed by the Flower Troupe, led by C. Nagatsuki. Kei Suzuki is handling the script and direction, as was the case with the musicals based on the Ace Attorney series and the Sengoku Basara, both of which were also performed by Takarazuka Review.
That's awesome. It's great.
Fantastic.
More of that.
Put it in English. Bring it over here. Pile it on.
Yep. I'd pay to go see it.
Yeah. I'll see a Castlevania musical.
Yeah.
Sign me the hell up.
What is a man but a miserable pile of secrets?
But enough talk. How about you?
How about you? Is that what it is? It's going to be like a fucking an Andrew Lloyd Webber bullshit. Fucking hate Andrew Lloyd Webber so much.
I hope it's basically just cats.
Have at you, have at you, have at you. Like fucking, oh God.
Speaking of Castlevania, you actually brought this up to me. This isn't a new story. I couldn't find an actual story about this, but the Materia store is selling a 46 LP vinyl set of all of Castlevania's music for $550, which is a lot of money, but is actually a pretty solid deal. But as one of the folks in our Discord pointed out, this is an ugly ass box set.
It's not beautiful, certainly. Art is in the eye of the beholder and all of that, but there's so much gorgeous Castlevania art, like pretty universally agreed upon gorgeous Castlevania artwork. And that's not what they went with. They went in a different direction. Yeah, they hired
I don't think it's
an
ugly.
Artist.
I didn't think it was ugly at first because of the zoomed out pictures, and then when I zoomed in on the pictures, when somebody in the Discord pointed out that they wished it looked better, and I zoomed in and I thought, no, I don't want this.
I mean, yes,
I don't
you
think
do.
I would like to own.
Yes, you would.
I mean, I do.
Like, come on. That's a fucking stupid thing to say out loud with your mouth to people
where
they
that's
can
the
hear
thing.
It.
I do and I don't, right? I passed on the Dracula's Curse vinyl because I did not like the artwork.
Sure.
I love the Dracula's Curse soundtrack, and it would be great to have that on record, but I really didn't like the artwork that they went with on that, so I passed on that one. Castlevania music is amazing, but this has everything. This has the X68000 stuff. This has the
great.
Adventure Rebirth. This
amazing.
is Legends for Game Boy 64. Like, this has everything. The freaking MSX game. Like, it's every Castlevania game is in here. I'm not going to listen to all of that. I mean, I'm going to listen to some of it, but I have the Castlevania soundtracks that I go back to, and there's a lot here that I would never listen to. Like, I'm never putting on the Castlevania Legends soundtrack. There are some awesome compositions in there, but the sound is terrible. Like, the instrumentation they used on the Game Boy was awful, and it didn't need to be, because Castlevania The Adventure is a shit game, but it has an amazing soundtrack. Yeah. Then you go to Belmont's Revenge, which is a way better game, with great compositions, but again, they use this really crunchy sound, and it just doesn't sound good coming out of the Game Boy. There's a lot of Castlevania music in here that I would never touch, so yeah, I actually don't think I do want this. I want to want it.
I mean...
but at the end of the day...
Again, if we're being honest, if you or I were in the position where $550 was not a thing...
Right.
Without question.
Yeah, if money was no object, without question, absolutely I'd buy this.
Right.
But for the amount of money, even though it is a pretty solid deal.
It is. Like, whatever, I forget who broke it down on the Discord, but like $12 an LP, it's like
$12 an LP.
Cheap,
that's great.
Considering
yeah.
what LPs go for, but it's just absurd. Like, it's an absurd thing to exist.
Yeah, like they haven't even reissued these games. Like, there are a ton of games in here that Konami has never reissued, and that tons of people have never played. Who's played Vampire Killer on MSX? Almost nobody in America has. Well, yeah, but he's not in North America. Like, that's just not a thing that exists here in America. Like, there's a ton of games on. Like, 8 people have played Castlevania: The Adventure Rebirth. More than 8 people should have played Castlevania:
That's for
The Adventure
sure.
Rebirth.
It's really good.
Because it's actually a really good game.
I think
here we are.
I do think this falls under, we were talking about like last week or the week before or whatever, the one dude from Limited Run who was like, this is not, like, we sell these things because we know they're not going to ever be listened to or played. Like, this is an investment to resell. Or just a collector's piece because I am an absurd collector and I have to have... There has to be levels in the collector market, because then otherwise, how can you separate your shit from somebody else's shit? You know what I mean? Like, if we just all have video games, then okay, we're all video game collectors. But I'm a fancy man, so I also have statues and fucking this $550 box set, because isn't this fucking crazy? You know, my buddy John is a Metallica super fan. Like, flew out to Los Angeles for the second time they did the Symphony Metallica thing, which I can't remember the fucking name of right now. But like, he flew out to Los Angeles to see them do it live by himself. Like, he just went from New Jersey to California and bought a ticket and sat there by himself and was just like, this is amazing. He does not own a record player. He is an audiophile to like just a ridiculous degree as far as like digital and speakers and just thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and always has been his entire life. You know, what's the next, what's the best, what's the greatest? He owns all of the Metallica box sets on vinyl. Just because. That makes him a bigger fan than somebody else. You know?
Sheridan has, he was just talking to me earlier today about he has been buying the Rocky soundtracks on vinyl.
Doesn't have a record player? No, of course.
Nope.
But like, I could see Sheridan hanging those up on the wall. You know, like it's a big piece of artwork.
Thing.
And that's
he's trying to collect every Stallone video game ever. Like, he's just
great.
Big Stallone fan.
Sure,
so,
who
like,
isn't? Fucking love that guy.
Fucking what?
Guys all the time.
Moving on. Nintendo Life reports Yakuza Kiwami is supposedly, quote, selling like crazy on Switch. Who could have ever fucking guessed?
Who would have known?
Whoever would have figured that the Yakuza games would sell really well on Switch? Oh yeah, everybody.
Everybody.
Except, was it 2 years ago? One of the people at Sega, or in charge of the team, they said that the Switch was for kids, and Yakuza games are not going to come to it because, you know, who the hell would buy them? The Switch is for kids. And this all stemmed out of, you know, being butthurt because the Wii U games were a failure.
Right.
Like, well, you know, the Wii U was a failure. I'm sorry, but
that's not really the game's fault, I don't think.
Yeah, that's not saying that your games are not going to sell to the Switch audience. And they said this after Doom, after Grand Theft Auto. Like, all these games were showing up on the Switch and selling really well, and they're like, no, fuck it, this is for kids. Well, guess the fuck what? You were very wrong. I just wanted to be petty and point that out. That's all the only that story's in here.
Okay.
Fucking Looney Tunes. Now put the rest of them on there. I'm not going to play them, but other people are very happy they're there.
Certainly, but
they're not gonna, I'm not. I am not the audience.
No.
Speaking of not being the audience, IGN reports Ubisoft just quietly launched a full-blown NFT game.
We're still doing that?
No, we're not. Nobody's doing this. I don't know why Ubisoft is doing this.
Yeah.
The article says, 3 years ago, Ubisoft promised it would start making its own blockchain games. Now it appears to have done it, having stealth launched a full-blown Web3 game last week called Champions Tactics Gimoria Chronicles on PC.
It's not enough names. Needs a couple more words in there. Fuck Ubisoft.
Fuck Ubisoft. What do you... NFT, this is all garbage. This is all garbage, and
So
we've all
dumb.
moved on.
So
what are you
dumb.
doing? We've all moved on.
I know.
Crazy fucking whack jobs. Moving on. Okay. Just getting my bearings for this one. This is a beefy one.
Ooh. A beefy whack job? It's like my Friday nights after the podcast
beefy
is
story
over.
right here.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know that this is actually... All right, let's start with this one.
Okay.
Kotaku reports, Sony shuts down studio behind Concord less than 2 years after buying it. We just said on the show pretty recently, I think you had just said you were pretty sure it's going to come back as a free-to-play thing. No, they are throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
I'm shocked.
I'm shocked, too. I am shocked. I didn't know how they could possibly salvage it because everything about this game looked like garbage to me, and nobody seemed to want it. But yeah, they nuked the whole thing. They killed the studio, and the game is not coming back.
It's just wild.
The first story that I brought
how
up...
bad could it have been? Like, I obviously didn't play it, but like, how bad could it have been?
The game was not bad. It was unnecessary. There was no market for it. Because the market for this game has been filled, except this is a new one with a bunch of really poorly designed generic-ass characters. There were no appealing characters in it, and it was one of those... Exactly what I was talking about before. This smells like a boardroom somewhere said, make them talk like Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's just all quips. This guy uses hot sauce. He's got a personality. Look, he's got hot sauce, right?
Yeah.
How quirky and quippy they are. Oh my goodness, I just love them. He uses hot sauce. That's so weird.
But still.
I'm
shocked. Shocked that there's not even an attempt at free-to-play. You know?
according to IGN, Concord's initial development deal was $200 million, but it wound up costing Sony much more. Just an obscenely large budget for a game that took them years to make that would have possibly had a chance if it had come out a couple of years ago.
Sure.
But that market's gone now. They missed the boat, and then they released it to a market that just doesn't exist anymore.
That's weird.
It was a terrible plan from start to finish. It was all this was all Sony chasing a trend.
Yeah.
And being way too slow because it took so much time to build this thing, and it was clearly focus tested to death.
Yeah. And it could have been
just
Resistance or SOCOM, and it would have been fine.
There was something about read something recently about I read something about Killzone. That's right.
Killzone. Guerrilla.
The company that makes Killzone, where they were asked why they don't make Killzone anymore. They was like, because we don't fucking want to. We were done. We just got burnt out on making Killzone games, so we don't want to make them anymore.
Now we're making fucking Horizon games, and they're awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you know what you do then? You let somebody else make Killzone.
You give it to another studio.
You find another studio that you own plenty of them. Say, here, make a Killzone game.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Weird. It's weird. I'm really, genuinely, I was really, really surprised by that.
Yeah, that was surprising and somewhat upsetting that there was just nuked it till it could load. But the bad Sony news does not stop there, because Push Square reports Sony shuts down PlayStation studio Neon Koi without ever releasing a game.
Yeah, I saw that too.
They bought Savage Game Studios to work on mobile stuff. The studio renamed itself Neon Koi, and then they didn't release anything, and Sony shut them down. They bought a studio and killed it. Yeah,
that's weird. Or the studio might have killed themselves by not being good at what they do or whatever, and, you know, you're not going to say no to money most of the time. I hope you don't ever want to see people lose their jobs, right? Obviously.
You don't.
I hope we are heading towards a little bit of course correction, though, where...
I hope so, too. I do want to, speaking of corrections, I just want to point out, this is because Sony decided they didn't want to pursue mobile as hard anymore.
Right.
So this wasn't a failure of this studio. Right. It was like, we're going to buy this studio because we're going to focus on mobile. And then Sony said, you know what? Never mind.
Because, like, Sony games are not mobile games. You know? Like, Nintendo games are not mobile games. I mean, the Pikmin thing does pretty good, you know, and, like, Pokemon and Nintendo are, like, separate to me. You know, when I talk about Nintendo, I don't ever mean Pokemon. You know, but like that Super Mario Run game, whatever the fuck that was, like it was fine, but
I disagree. I thought Mario Run was great. Fire Emblem on mobile did gangbusters. And what was that game?
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Ever Oasis. There's Dragalia Lost was a big success, and they shut it down because they're like, okay, that was a fun experiment, and everyone was like, but wait, I was still playing that. They're like, no, you're not. You're good. We're done. Like,
I don't know.
Nintendo clearly doesn't think there's things. Dr. Mario Express was great, and then they shut that shit down. I was playing that game, you bastards.
All right. Apparently, I don't know what I'm talking about, but. I
know what you're saying. It was like Sony made this mistake with PSP, right? They were like, all right, here's the PSP. We're going to put PlayStation games on here,
right?
And it was like,
and
no,
that
you don't
doesn't work.
Yeah, you don't. You have to make games for this platform, right? And that's what Nintendo had been doing with their mobile stuff, which they seem to be pulling back on. But like, you have to make things for the platform you're making them for, not just say like, all right, we're going to put the 90-hour experience on the go,
right? No,
until you have something like the Switch that works on both directions, and
right. Yeah, like I said, I hope this is maybe a little bit of course correction, and we can get away from the $600 million game that is like just.
Yeah, we really need to.
Not everything has to be gigantic. Because
occasionally, let's have that project from time to time.
Let's
have our Spider-Mans and our God of Wars. Like, let's do that. But
also more Astrobot.
Yes, exactly. More Astrobot.
Yeah.
More Jack and Daxter.
Right?
You know you want to.
Come on, Naughty Dog.
You naughty dog. You
know naughty dogs.
Come on,
pricks.
Oh, this is a fun one. Destructoid reports Nintendo has released a music app for some reason.
If that is not the most Nintendo shit ever. Like, hey, by the way,
dropping. We're all sitting here like, all right, you said you were going to announce the Switch 2 by March. Like, what are we doing? Come on, guys. When's Switch 2 coming out? Hey, guess what? Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming to Switch. Fucking awesome, but it's not what we're here for. I'm happy for you, but where's some news? Where's some more of the Switch 2? Yeah. Hey, did you know we have a music app now? And look, this music app's awesome. I think it's fucking great.
Yeah.
It's actually a really well-designed app. It works really well. I can find things easily.
I can put the Wii Shop channel on for an hour.
Exactly.
At a time.
I was listening to all the Wii songs. I was trying to go to bed. I was like, I need to chill out. Oh, let me put on the old news channel. Oh, the weather channel. Yes. They've got all the Wii stuff. And like the soundtracks are complete. They're not fucking around.
No.
And they've already added, they already added a new one, and they said they were going to add something else in the next couple of days. Like, I'm hoping that this doesn't devolve into Nintendo Switch Online, where it's like every 6 months we get a game or two. But because there's a ton of great Nintendo-owned music that I'd love to have on this app. That's great.
That they refuse to put anywhere else.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But that is Nintendo.
Yeah.
I'd rather have it here than nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's part of your existing NSO subscription. So if you have Nintendo Switch Online, you have Nintendo Music.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's great.
That's cool.
Yeah. I am into that. So, yay. Good job, Nintendo. Keep being weird. When's that Switch 2? When's that Switch 2 announcement? Hey, we got an alarm clock. Okay.
So fucking
weirdos.
So dumb.
I love this company. Like, seriously, who could have seen that shit coming? They're like, we're going to announce Switch 2 sometime in the next couple of months. And they're like, we've got a new announcement. It's an alarm clock.
It's a cheese grater. Like, fuck, dude.
Look, this is great. I love cheese graters.
Sure.
I'm all for this. And look, they're not going to announce it now. They would be crazy to announce it now. Like, the Switch is doing just fine. And if they announce anything before Christmas, they're going to cannibalize their own holiday sales.
Sure.
I don't expect that announcement before the end of the year. But it's
Which means it's going to happen tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah, clearly. Because you can't predict these lunatics. They're out of their minds. Time Extension reports Tim and Jeff Fallon's development disc archive has now been preserved.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
So the Fallon brothers, they made super awesome music for video games.
Oh, wait, fuck. I do know what that is. Never mind. Shut up. What am I talking about?
So their archive of let's see. Kevin Edwards on Twitter announced, after a lot of work, I'm now ready to release Tim and Jeff Fallon's Software Creations Development Disc Archive. Following on from at Break Into Prog's initial release, I have been able to recover more source files and add lots of extra resources. So this is like super awesome early development stuff, including sound and music files for Ghouls and Ghosts and Bionic Commando. Like there's some real history in here.
One of them just passed away, right? Pancreatic cancer. One of the Fallon brothers. Yeah.
Maybe?
Like a couple months ago.
Let's ask the internet.
Or maybe longer than a couple months because I don't understand time anymore, but I thought it was relatively recent.
Sadly, in May 2024, Jeff lost his battle with pancreatic cancer. You're right. Yeah, it was Jeff Fallon.
Yeah. Because that one of them is I think it's Tim is responsible for, in my opinion, the most underrated NES soundtrack, which would be Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer.
Oh, Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer is fucking good.
Pretty sure that was Tim Fallon. Tim Fallon also did the Pictionary soundtrack that just goes way too hard.
Yeah.
It's fucking Pictionary, and it's just like, this shit's crazy. Love it. Moving on. Push Square reports random Suda51 claims to have met the mysterious sales maestro Wario64.
Okay. Something wrong with everybody over there.
Suda51 is crazy, right? He's already kind of a goofball. I love that guy. But like Wario64 is I follow his account all the time. That account just gives out deals all the time, like follows every deal, and it's just one of the most useful Twitter accounts on the internet. Yeah. But like the dude, whoever's running the account is actually like a complete mystery. Nobody knows who he is. But apparently Suda51 does.
Of course. Suda51 is Wario64.
Oh my god, I wouldn't be surprised in the least.
Fucking weirdos.
Fantastic. Love it. Alright, I got a couple left here. Let's see. Push Square reports crummy classic sports games compiled in Accolade Sports Collection on PS5 and PS4.
Don't buy it.
It's also on Switch, Xbox, and Steam. You ready for this lineup? Hardball, Hardball 2, Hoops Shut Up and Jam, originally named Barkley Shut Up and Jam, Summer Challenge, and Winter Challenge.
Who is that for?
I don't know.
Who's buying that? Who's sitting here going,
great games.
Fuck, man, I really wish I could play Hardball again. Like
Hardball was kind of a good time back in the day. I think the one that cracks me up the most is the Barkley Shut Up and Jam, which is like, or we're just going to take the Barkley out of this because we're not paying him again. And I remember Hardball. Like these are really interesting looking games. Like that's the thing. These are neat looking things. I don't imagine this is the kind of thing anyone's going to really be playing, but at the same time, like video game history is video game history. These things happen.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair.
It is neat that they are being preserved. It is a very strange product to put together, though.
Yeah.
Oops! Shut up and jam.
Stop it.
Love it.
Stop it.
Last but not least, I think we talked about this on the show at some point relatively recently, but Time Extension reports we can't quite believe that Former Dawn is running on real NES hardware.
Yeah,
this is a Kickstarter campaign.
Nuts.
I can't. Is one of those cannot believe our eyes kinds of things. You just look at this and say, how is this real? Their Kickstarter goal is immense. It's kind of surprising to me that they haven't hit it anyway, because of just like, this is a pretty wild looking game when you see this in action, to the extent that a lot of people thought that they were making it up. Like they thought there's no way this is real. Like they got the NES basically doing mode 7, which is
crazy.
Yeah. This is really, 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 really cool looking game, and I don't know that I have the money to back it. Because like all the tiers are fairly expensive. They're looking to get $160,000 for this,
which is a lot for a Kickstarter game.
Yeah, they've got as of this recording, they've got 12 days to go, and they're at 102,000. So like, the needle's moving. They actually reached out to Stone Age Gamer. They're trying to get in contact with Crixie. Because they've been using an EverDrive N8 Pro for the game development, but there's like a limitation in the N8 Pro that would stop people from being able to play the game on their EverDrives. And they want to see if we can help facilitate an update for the EverDrive so that this game can be played on it when it releases. Because a lot of people are also buying. There's obviously an NES cartridge you can buy. It looks really neat. I'm super excited. I wish I could afford to back it, but the physical cartridge. Let's see, what are the tiers? Like standard digital, deluxe digital, Famicom Patron Edition, which is just the bare cartridge is $80.
Right.
And that's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not worth it. Generally speaking, like this game is not worth that money. I just know that in my current position, I don't see myself, playing this $80 worth on my NES cartridge. But at the same time, I really want to plug this into my NES and watch it go. Like I want to watch it do its thing.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
You want to see that it actually works.
Yeah. I want to see it doing its thing. Anyways, that wraps it up for week old news, and that's going to wrap it up for this segment of our show. We're going to take ourselves another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Q Bert, because why the hell not? You're listening to the Stone Age Gamer podcast from Geekade.com. Stick around.
Hey there, Stone Age Gamer fans. Are you also fans of Star Trek? Well, maybe you'd like to listen to yet another podcast, maybe yet another Star Trek podcast. You see, me and my friend Majid, every other week, we talk about the original series, we talk about Strange New Worlds, we talk about Star Trek. We have a third friend, Brad, who's sometimes here, but he hasn't been. I don't know why. So come on over and listen to our show. Yet another Star Trek podcast at yetanothersTpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you enjoy the Stone Age Gamer podcast and other shows on the Geekade Podcast Network? Do you wish you could listen to them sooner than the regular unwashed masses? Do you wish you could contribute in some way? Well, then you should check out the Geekade Patreon. Yes, the Geekade Patreon is a wonderful and very much appreciated way for you to help us pay the bills and keep our shows running week after week. As a Geekade patron, you'll get a monthly podcast topic schedule and early access to nearly every show on the Geekade Podcast Network, as well as access to a patron-exclusive monthly show called DC's Amazing Movie Time from the creators of the Weekend Rental podcast. So head on over to patreon.com/geekade and become a loved and appreciated member of the Geekade Patreon team and get early access to shows like the Stone Age Gamer podcast, this week's episode, Turning Tracks, and a whole lot more. See you there. All right, everybody, we are back, and it is time for the Alphabet Super Series, where Dan and I are taking turns making alphabetical game choices, and I had the good fortune to land on the letter Q, and I went with my gut, and I chose Q Bert for the Sega Dreamcast and Sony PlayStation consoles. There was also a version released on the Game Boy Color, and this was also on PC.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Game Boy Color version was like. I feel like it must have just... Did they really go all out with this? I don't know. Let's see. Let's go over the basics. Q Bert was released in 1999. It was developed by Artex Studios, except Pipe Dream Interactive handled the Dreamcast port, and Morningstar Multimedia handled the Game Boy Color port. It was published by Hasbro Interactive. It came out on Windows and PlayStation on November 14th, 1999. The PC was November 14th, the PlayStation was November 30th. On Game Boy Color, it came out September 25th, 2000, and on Dreamcast, December 5th, 2000. And it hit Mac OS in October 2001. Look at that. It's a reimagining of the original Q Bert, just with a whole lot of new stuff added.
Yeah.
So what did you think of this game?
I thought it was a fine version of Q Bert, but it's just Q Bert, right? Like there's not a lot you can do with Q Bert, you know?
So the original arcade version is just the triangle, right? It's just the pyramid. And this I thought was really clever in that it added all of these extra stages to them, like these different stage layouts.
Yeah, like it goes in weird directions. Like,
it does.
In a good way.
I thought it was in a mostly good way. My biggest problem with this is as the game got more complex as it went on, it was really hard to tell where I was going because the camera's static. You can't really control what you're looking at. So when the blocks are like kind of behind other blocks, you got to like jump into a hole and stuff. They try to mitigate that with the camera angles, but it's really difficult to tell. Like I got lost a lot, and especially just because the very nature of Q Bert controls on a console, like even going back to the 2600, that was the first version of Q Bert I ever played.
Right.
And like the whole thing is on this diagonal isometric thing. So like you have to press up to go like up and left, or down to go down and right. You know, so like there's this period of adjustment no matter where you're at. Like if you assign the controls to be just the diagonals, then you have to press diagonals on the D-pad the whole time while you're playing. And that's
which is weird
not precise
too.
on any platform because they don't use analog sticks.
Right.
So,
which was very frustrating.
It was especially the Dreamcast version. So I played the Dreamcast one first, right? I played this a bunch on PlayStation when it first came out. I really liked it.
Right.
I don't think I ever finished it.
Q Bert's fine.
Right, it's Q Bert. And that intro is just hysterical. I love the little eye twitch that they gave him. Like Q Bert's personality is spot on. This game's whole personality is really great except for the ending. The ending was garbage. So you can play like regular classic Q Bert, you can play just a straight up arcade version, or you can play like a modern looking version, but it plays just like the original arcade one. It's a very, very nice thing to have on there. But the real meat and potatoes of this is adventure mode, where they have all these new shaped stages and you have to go through all the different shaped, like different level layouts and just play Q Bert. You're avoiding bad guys and you have to jump on the different platforms to change them colors, and that's the meat and potatoes of it. I'm looking up the Game Boy Color version because I'm really curious what it looks like.
Yeah.
Game Boy Color Yeah, this really just looks like regular ass Q Bert. This just looks like the arcade game. No, they do have more modern looking stages. That's neat because like he's got a good look on his face, like his eyes look around, so that's pretty cool. So it's not just a straight port of the arcade game, but it doesn't have the same degree of complexity of the levels as the other one, which I think is kind of a good thing because you don't have that instance where you're going to fall behind a block. It's just they're all pretty straightforward. It's really similar to I played that a TUI game, Totes the Goat, a while back that I was super fond of. Yeah. And that's a similar situation. They didn't have that kind of trappings where you would fall behind blocks.
Yeah, no, I had fun with this. I thought it was cool. I thought the layouts were cool. Like, it felt... That's why I said, like, it's Q Bert, you know? Like, it felt like Q Bert. Like, certainly a more modern, you know, some of the level design, like you said, maybe not as clever or maybe trying to be too clever in that isometric space of the way things were set up. I did have an issue, and I don't know if it's just the shmemulated version that I was playing, but it almost like I had to fuck with the timing a little bit because there seemed to be like I would jump twice a lot in when I didn't want to, like holding the direction, because I play Q Bert pretty quick, like I just always have, you know, very deliberate in the movements and whatnot. And I don't know, there was a bunch of times where I held it for like a half a second, like just a fraction too long, and I would end up jumping off a platform because it just kept going. You know, it didn't change, as it wasn't as responsive as I would have liked for the way I play. And I feel like that, as you were saying, like if that were on an analog stick, I don't think that would have been a problem, but I don't know. I
can't say that I really experienced much of that on my plays. What I thought was interesting was that the Dreamcast version really didn't run very well. The first one I booted up for my playthrough on this was the Dreamcast one.
Right.
And I was kind of surprised. I remembered it running really... I remember it playing it at my store, my Funcoland back in the day, and being like, oh, this is just a cleaner version of the PlayStation one. It also has a different menu interface.
Okay.
Because the PlayStation's menu interface was kind of garbage.
Yeah,
it's these little rotating cubes that you couldn't read. Yeah. Like, it was really difficult to add. Yeah. Yeah, you can't really figure out what you're doing. So when I jumped into the Dreamcast, I was playing the Dreamcast one, I was like, I didn't even think about the menus. And then when I booted up the PlayStation one afterwards, I was like, oh god, these are terrible.
Yeah.
But the Dreamcast one has these like real frame issues. Like, it just kind of chugs a lot from time to time when stages start. And the PlayStation one, while not as sharp as the Dreamcast one, it feels better to play. It's and it doesn't have quite as much of the it doesn't chug from time to time. It's just a really much smoother experience overall. The final stage is insane. You have to like play all these like really quick levels at the outside of a giant cube, and then you have this like weird showdown with Coily the snake, like a giant version of Coily the snake. You have to have this showdown, and that's the end of the game. And then you get the terrible ending, which is which is a freaking dance number with all the characters in Q Bert, but like an old-timey like stage show dance number.
It's weird.
It's like what?
It's weird. It's a choice.
It is really weird. It is indeed a choice. I feel like the people who made this game definitely had fun making it, but
yeah. I mean, if you like Q Bert, this is for you.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the arcade version of Q Bert, I think you should definitely give this a shot. Because it's Q Bert is a solid game, you know, at its core, and this is a really fun version of it. It just has some growing pains that it didn't grow out of. I don't think this flavor ever got a sequel, but there are other games like it out there in the world that have this kind of stuff fixed. So yeah, if you're a fan of Q Bert, I say go for it. I had a lot of fun revisiting this one and the nostalgic sounds that were attached to it. Like the backgrounds are all these really weird, like Max Headroom, super trippy.
They are really fucking weird.
Floating around. Yeah, it's a strange little thing. But it's a neat game. Q Bert's got a great personality, and I say it was well worth our time.
It's got a good beat, and you can dance to it.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess if we don't have anything else to say about Q Bert, that was a nice short segment, but we're moving things along here. We're shuffling along. So Dan, you're in charge of R. What's your plan for the letter R?
Man, I really struggled with this one because there's a lot. But there's a game.
There is. R is not Q.
No, there's just so much. But there's a game that I've always been really curious about it. Just from the way it looked. But it's for a system that I didn't own. So we're gonna, so therefore I've never played it. So we're gonna rectify that this month, and we are going to play for the Sega Genesis or the Mega EverDrive. Is what you're going to play it on. We are going to play Ranger X.
Ranger X? I think I own that game.
It looks cool. It's giving me, some treasure kind of vibes for a run and gun shooter. It just looks really awesome. I've always been really, really curious about this game. I've always loved the way it looked. It's something I've always wanted to get to. And it was all right, let's do it. Bosses look really weird and cool, and yeah, I'm into it.
I thought I owned Ranger X. Am I crazy? I just looked it up in my Game Eye and I don't see it. But I can picture the box.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hold on a second. I'm going to walk across my room and check. 1 second here.
Okay.
1 second. Hold on.
Holding. There is no vamping, right? It's just complete. I just sit here. That's my vamp right now. It's just feeling shitty. I got nothing else. Sorry. Trying to think if I heard any funny jokes. Loading the dishwasher, that one was funny. That was good. Nope. I got nothing. I'm sorry, Kris. It's just, technically, I suppose, now that I'm just talking the whole time, this is vamping. But it's not very good vamping. Which, if we would have done this yesterday on Halloween, I would have been vampiring, which would have been fun. Just start biting people. Not that there's anybody down here. And bite myself. That's weird. That's fucking strange. I don't know. I keep hearing you're coming closer. And I keep thinking oh, okay. I was all right, I could stop talking for a second.
No, I don't have it.
Oh, son of a bitch.
I can picture this game clear as day. I can picture this box clear as day.
Maybe you sold it at some point?
No, maybe. That's so weird.
I don't know.
Anyways, yeah, Ranger X looks cool. I'm into it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Looks really neat.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Find out.
It looks like we didn't have a whole lot of feedback for Q Bert here. We do have one from Trashman. Let's say, all right, so I guess I'm trying to save my girlfriend from a snake that has interdimensional powers. I vaguely remember the arcade original. This is one of those try until you die games, so I have no idea what does what. I keep jumping off the ledge accidentally. The wildly strange rotating shapes surrounding the level are interesting. It appears difficulty selection doesn't actually make levels harder, just changes the number of lives you get. Mm-hmm. Got to World 3 before I turned it off. Maybe this game is a worthy successor to the original if you were a fan, but I'm struggling to stay interested. Feels like a score chaser from a simpler time. I'd put it above Eternal Champions, but it's just not my jam.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Q Bert's
it's
not
also
for everybody.
Very fair that it's absolutely above
100%
above Eternal Champions.
100%.
Hundo P.
All right.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, all right, well, then there we go. Our next game is Ranger X. I'll throw that in the Discord. X. And that's going to be our show. We're going to wrap things up. We're going to call it a night. And there it is. There's my script. We're on most social media. That's our show. Join us next time when we're going to be tackling a topic suggested by Dean. Dean messaged me out of the blue, and he said he had a thing you wanted to talk about. It's got something to do with video game magazines. So Dean's going to join us next week, and we're going to talk about video game magazines. I don't really remember what he said, but when Dean asks, I listen.
That's right. And then immediately forget.
I didn't say I retained. I said I listened. So next week we'll have whatever conversation that's going to be, and that is the end of our show. We're on most social media platforms, and if you want to get in touch with us, we aren't very difficult to find. All it takes is a quick look at our show notes, and you'll see links to our social media accounts as well as all manner of other fun stuff, like a link to our namesake, StoneAgeGamer.com, and more useful links than you can shake a joystick at. If you'd like to get early access to this show's episodes, as well as a bevy of other shows on the Geekade Podcast Network, check out our Patreon, also linked to in the show notes. It helps keep this show running week after week, and all our patrons are loved and appreciated. This show's theme song, Squared Roots, was written by Banjo Guy Ollie. You can learn all about his wonderful music and more by following the link to his YouTube channel, also in the show notes. And finally, as always, we'd like to thank our intrepid editor, Evan, for making the show listenable for all you folks. We'd like to thank all you folks for listening in the first place. Actually, Evan's not editing the show this week. This is my fault. So if this show is terrible, you can blame it on me. That's it, and on behalf of Dan and myself, keep playing games.